Okay, so what I've got here is a mock-up of a heel. So you imagine there was a cuff up here. So you'd have, this is where you've started the heel flap. So that would be a continuation of your rib. And there would be some live stitches around here, which obviously I've not done because that would be unnecessary. So we've knitted down here. We've got a nice crisp slip stitch here with these lines, and then we've gone into turning a short row heel, which is what we've already done on your sock. There's a bit of cat fur there, and then down the edges here you'll see these nice big V's, which are the slip stitches. So when you're at the beginning of every row, you slip the stitches, and they're your guide for where you're going to pick up stitches. That's quite handy, because sometimes you'll have to pick up stitches in other garments where you've just got to make a guess, but this gives you a nice clear indication of where you'll pick them up. So when you've done your short row here, you've ended up at this end. So but you always want to start picking up at this side. So you're picking up towards the left hand side, on the left hand side of the heel, and then you'll go across to the other side when you've done that, and down this way, and then you've got one big loop. So normally you would, at this point, you would leave, that would be on one of your double points, and then you get another double point to do the picking up the stitches. But because I'm doing this on a long circular on size 10 super chunky needles, I'm just going to use the other end of the circular. So we just pretend that's a double pointed needle. So let's have a look. There's your line of slip stitches. I'm going to take the first one. You could in theory do that one, but I can make it a bit gappy, and generally speaking you don't need to. You'll probably be told how many stitches to pick up in a particular pattern. So we have a look at that. We can see the two legs. You get your needle and put it under both legs. There will be a sort of gap. It won't be as big and loose as this, because obviously this is a very chunky yarn. Then we take your yarn, wrap it around the needle as if you're knitting, and pull that back through, and you've got a stitch on your needle. So it's got, at the moment it's not really, it's not that secure a stitch, it's just a loop of yarn, but when we come back around to knit, we'll knit into the back of it, and that'll tighten it up and make it more secure. So I'm going to do that again. So I'll go under the two legs, wrap the yarn around, pull it through, and there's another stitch again. It's quite an annoying noise, isn't it? Under there, put that through, so I've got a nice row of stitches that are going to go perpendicular to the ones on here. That's your last stitch there. So now at this point you would then be knitting across your stitches that have been resting on the circular needle for your instep. Now obviously I don't have any here. What I normally do with the double point, I would leave that, so that this part would be on a double point, this part would be on a double point, and then this loop is on your circular needle. So I would take the back of the circular needle and start knitting into it. But I'm not going to do that here because I haven't got any stitches. So I'm going to pretend I've knitted straight into them, and then I'm going to use this end to then pick up and close the loop. So you've got stitches here, you've got stitches here, and you've got imaginary stitches on here. And then I'm going to close that loop by picking up stitches the other side. So again, you've got these nice row of V's, and you go in under the two legs like this with your yarn. Leave a bit of slack there for the pretend stitches. So again, under that leg, going in like so. if you make a mistake here, so you get to the end and you've got too many stitches, you can just pull that straight out again, like, and start again, because this is all secure. Just don't pull it as far as the stitches that are on, the live stitches that are on the needle. Okay, so let's do that again. So make sure you have the same number of stitches picked up on either side, unless your pattern tells you to pick up an extra one, which it may do sometimes to make the pattern of the rib or whatever pattern you've got on your instep, to give that the right number of stitches. But normally you would have half your stitches on here. When you finish this, you'll have more than half your half number of stitches, but you're then going to reduce down to that number, because at this point you've got it's the widest point of your foot. So we need to do some decreases. So now we have got to the end of the picked up stitches. I'm going to leave that one there. So now if you use your imagination and pretend there's some stitches on here, on this part here, then all your stitches are then, your loop is got stitches all the way around. On your sock, these two parts will be on your double pointed needles, but at this point you can then start knitting them back onto the circular needle. So you go across here first of all, just knit normally, and this is basically consolidating your knitting back onto your circular needle. Just see where this ends up. Pull a bit of cable through here. Okay, so we've got back across here. So now we've got back to where we first picked up the stitches. Now these are the ones that are just basically a big loop, so we're going to knit into the back of those. So just to twist them, which makes them a bit tighter, a bit neater, and a bit less likely to show that. So you can just see there that the stitch is twisted round. You can twist the stitch by picking it up and moving it round like that if you wanted to. You remember when we were doing your picking up stitches after frogging, how you have to be able to work out whether it's a stitch is twisted or not. But here we're twisting all these as we knit them. Now get to the last three, then we're going to, for the first row, we're going to knit two together. On the first row, we're going to knit them through the back loop for this side because we're twisting them, but the decreases on this side, the first side, from now on will just be normal knit two together. So you do it on the last two before the last two before the last one, the last two, second and third before the marker, and then this stitch is the last one for the marker, which you're going to go through the back loop. Okay, and then you would have a marker here, which you would have you'll put in at the point where it's not going to fall off because of the double pointed needle. So you've got rid of both your double pointed needles, so everything is now back on your circular needle. So we're going to knit across the instep, and then I'm just going to pull some of the cable out of here so I can actually. And then this side again, we're going to twist these stitches, but because the increase on this side is the decrease on this side is a slip step knit, we have to do something very slightly different just on the first round. So knit the first one after the marker through the back loop. Now we need to twist these, but we're also already going to knit them through the back loop because it's a slip step knit. So what I'm going to do just for this first round is I'm going to take them off and twist them and put them back on, and then I'm going to knit them through the back loop. So this just makes it a little bit neater and a bit tauter. The reason why you knit them through the back loop is to give the slope of your decreases more consistency and elegance. So then I'm going to knit all these through the back loop. I don't know what I've done with the I'm using the wrong thread here, but you get the general gist. You get the general gist. So that is picking up stitches. I have actually knitted that with the anyway. So you've got all your stitches and now on your circular needle, and you have started to do your decreases here and here. So you would do those every other row until you get to the correct number of stitches on the knit section, because all of these stitches are now always knit. There's no purling apart from over the rib, so it's nice and smooth, and it's also a little bit quicker. Okay, so I hope that might help you with picking up stitches.